Hey, it's another week, another recipe, and today we are trying out a coconut caramel from the 1920s in hopes that it's good enough to share at our 4th of July potluck tonight. Come in my kitchen and join me for it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Courtney Morris and I cook history's forgotten recipes out of random cookbooks I find, sometimes websites, and today's recipe actually comes from our family recipe box. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are coming back for more, my express thanks as always for joining me. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. Happy 4th of July. It is Independence Day here in America, and I was looking for a recipe that was like quintessential 4th of July celebration, which I went all the way back to my Revolutionary War cookbooks and recipes that I have on up through the 1950s, and it turns out that everything is quintessentially 4th of July. I mean, you do have your baked beans that have shown up over the centuries, but honestly, I don't have the time to make actual baked beans because that is an all-day process, which is so worth it. And one day I think I will do it because I really want to. But in this case, I found something that can lend to the dessert table, which is actually my favorite table of any picnic or any potluck or get together. And this recipe comes from about the 1920s. This box is from about the 1920s from my husband's great aunt Vera for coconut caramel squares. Now I love coconut in baked goods. Outside of baked goods, not so much, but in baked goods with sugar, oh my gosh, it's good. And I love caramel. So coconut caramel squares together sounds delightful. And we have a place to go tonight for our 4th of July celebration, so I can bring these along with me, provided they turn out well. That's always a contingency with these videos, is I really do try. I do have a backup plan, but I really do try to make these and hope they're good so I can, you know, not have to do 2 recipes or bring something else, so we shall see. All right, this is going to be at the stove, so I'm going to move my camera over and put you in my cabinet. Okay, so you are sat in my spice cabinet right now, and somehow, I don't know how it's holding on. I'm gonna get a hot plate so we can move over to the bar and do everything over there, because this is a hard setup to film. So my apologies for the lighting and the angle, but this is what I got to work with. So we're diving into the realm of confectionaries, which deal with sugar, specifically white sugar, and this realm of culinary stuff can screw up so fast if you don't know what you're doing. So I highly recommend, if you haven't ever delved into candy making, get yourself a candy thermometer. I'm not going to be using mine because someone put it in the sink and it is now broken. So you can also use a meat thermometer. Mine only goes up to 200, but at least if you know you get to 200, you can eyeball your different stages. So it says we're going to start with 1.5 cups of sugar, a 1/2 cup of milk, and a 1/2 cup of white syrup. Now white syrup is just corn syrup, but it's the light corn syrup. It's an interchangeable name. All right, so we're going to start with 1.5 cups of sugar in a saucepan, 1/2 cup of milk, and 1/2 cup of corn syrup or white syrup. Caro brand, I think, is the most popular over here, and I think in the UK it's golden syrup is the equivalent. Okay, so from there I am going to turn on my heat, and I'm going to turn it on a medium high. Now you want this to get to a boiling stage, but you don't want this to overboil because that is a very sticky mess to clean up. I'm going to start out with my whisk and then switch over to my spatula so I can scrape the sides. All right, so this is going to allow the sugar to dissolve and the mixture to become clear, and as it heats up, it's going to start bubbling, and once it starts foaming, we're going to add a teaspoon of butter and then do the bulk of our boiling to get it to firm ball stage, and I'll show you how to check for that here in just a bit. Started foaming, I'm going to add my teaspoon of butter, and we're going to start stirring, and now we let it boil. We don't stop stirring until we get to about 242 to 248 degrees. That's the temperature that caramel forms. Any harder than that, you're going to get a harder dessert, and any softer than that, you're going to end up with like a syrup or a jelly. Okay, this is going to be hard to film, so I'm going to try and help you see this. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my spatula real quick. I know I am past 200 degrees. Firm ball stage, you can take a cup of cold water and drop in a little bit. And if you can pick it up out of the water and it stays in its spot, then you're good to go. If not, it's not ready. So right now, you can see that it looks more like snot. I know, great visual. But, yes, I broke my rule, but I only have 2 hands. So we need a little bit longer for it to get to almost like a very squishy bouncy ball. It really doesn't go, it goes fast too, so you can't like just think it's gonna not take too long. All right, so here's where we're at now. It's not as gooey, it's not as snotty, it's getting thicker. So we're gonna keep it on for a little bit longer. This is where candy thermometers are a saving grace. If you are not an experienced confectioner, use it by all means. But it is great to know the water tests, because otherwise, if you don't have a thermometer like yours truly, you're gonna be up a creek. Okay, so here we are. It's starting to look more, oops, you're over here. Focus. It's starting to look more like a Tootsie Roll consistency. Okay, so we are now where it holds its shape. Let's see how it's now a ball. I can mush it into a ball, but I can also flatten it if I wanted to. Firm ball stage, turn off your heat. All right, so we've got it to firm ball stage, and now it says to chill for 2 minutes. So I'm gonna put this on a hot mitt in my fridge, and I'm not gonna show you that process because my fridge needs to be cleaned out. All right, so I am bringing this back to this angle because it is a pain in the butt to film over there sometimes with that angle. So hopefully my hot plate will come and we'll be able to do everything right here. I know it doesn't make for very interesting angles, but honestly, if you're a one-person show with only 2 hands, I'm doing what I gotta do. Okay, so we let this cool in the fridge for 2 minutes. It has cooled a little bit. You can see it's getting a little more syrupy. And then what we need to do is to add half a cup of coconut, half a cup of nuts, and a half teaspoon of vanilla. And then it says to beat, so I guess I need my whisk. Now, I'm using sweetened coconut flakes, and they didn't say not to. I don't necessarily like regular coconut too much. I like it sweetened, and I just had this on hand from a prior recipe. I'm not sure what I made. I don't remember what it was I made or was going to make, but I don't think it really matters. This might just make it a little like too rich with the sugar and the corn syrup and now the sweetened coconut, but whatever. Oh, I guess I only needed that much. I had more than I thought. All right, so half cup of coconut and a half teaspoon of vanilla. Now we do have to work quickly because if you remember, this is starting to cool off, and as caramels cool off, the thicker it gets. Therefore, the harder it gets to stir things in. So I am actually just not gonna use my whisk. This is thick enough to where I'm gonna beat the crap out of this as best I can with my spatula. Now this looks like this looks like the frosting from a German chocolate cake, and it smells so good. Now, I like nuts in here. I'm using walnuts, I forgot to say that, but you could probably even just omit the nuts and it would probably taste just fine. All right, so if you can see, it's getting nice and thick, almost frosting-like. And my apologies for any blurry shots here. I am also using my other camera, which does not want to focus on anything to save its life. So it said to beat, and then that's it. That's the end of the recipe. So common sense dictates, we put it in a pan and let it cool. I do love a good caramel, but I've never had a coconut caramel before. There we are. I'm gonna put this in the fridge and let it cool off, and I will be back to taste test it. You can already see that shiny glaze of the caramel starting because it's starting to cool on the edges, which is so exciting. Now, caramel is one of the easiest confectionaries you can ever make. It's literally sugar, milk, and vanilla. I mean, that's the basic caramel recipe. You can even do it with sweetened condensed milk because it's already milk and sweetened. You're just missing vanilla. However, I personally think the homemade version is the best. All right, I will be back when I can cut these and we will find out if these are 4th of July potluck worthy. And if they are, I'm gonna have to make a few more because I'm gonna probably eat this pan all myself. All right, so this is cooled off now, and one thing that I forgot to do in all the craziness of trying to film one-handed making confections is you can line your baking pan with butter. That will help lift it, but also you can use wax paper and put wax paper down with some flaps hanging over, and then put your caramel in, so then you just pick it up and turn it out onto a cutting board. I didn't, but you know what, that's okay. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyways, so I am going to cut into this and see how this goes. Okay, I've got a gooey little caramel here. I like my caramels more firm rather than soft and chewy. If you wanted your caramels more on the gooey side, err on the side of the lower temperature range for the firm ball stage. Otherwise, the higher the temperature, the more firm it's gonna be. So I like mine a little more firm, but let's see how this goes. Oh, perfect. Perfect. That's sticky. Sorry, stuck right here and on the back of my tooth, so trying to swallow that was hard. This is perfect consistency. It is soft and chewy, but melts in your mouth and has that gooey center, and the coconut doesn't lend a big coconut flavor. Like, it really doesn't. It adds a flavor, but I would not say it's a coconut flavor. The walnuts are fantastic in this. This, I think, gives, and I do like the texture of it. So I think that's, if you haven't noticed, if you've ever watched any of my videos, I'm kind of a texture person, but I like it. Without it, let's take that out. It's just as good. I have hit a jackpot on this one. I can take this to a potluck and be just fine, but I am going to be needing another pan of this for a potluck. So I'm just gonna probably triple the recipe. I'm gonna eat this one by myself. Okay, bottom line is I am sticky because I'm using my fingers, but this is great. This is a 100% win. Please try this. If you're gonna get good at caramel, try this one first. While I can't stop eating this, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this journey. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I'd love for you to join our community here. It is so much fun talking to everybody and getting recipe ideas and hearing your stories. It is amazing. Hit the little bell notification while you're at it, and that will let you know when I upload another video, which is usually every Monday with a new experiment. And sometimes they are amazing, and sometimes they're absolutely terrible, which actually can be kind of fun too. Also, feel free to drop me a comment or a recipe that you'd like me to try out. I would love to hear from you. And if you need something else to watch, try this one. It's a cavity in a dish. It was interesting, that is for sure. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next Monday. Have a great 4th of July. Bye.